Welcome all to a new episode of the Gaming Kitchen. I am visiting you from the surface of the sun. Of course, I'm being facetious, except I'm kind of not, except I kind of am. It is, it might reach triple digits out here, ladies and gents. I ain't gonna hold you. It's, boy, it's a scorcher out here. And I know a lot of people don't believe in, um, global warming and all this stuff. But, when you go from having the coolest of Mays to the hottest of Junes to unbearable hottest of Junes, um, whether people want to acknowledge things or not, that's up to them. But there is a change in the way weather and temperatures and seasons are aligning themselves. And if there has been any time in your life to ever sympathize with a candy bar left in the car, today is the day. Now, that being out the way, what is this video about today? Since we're on the topic of acknowledgement, acknowledgement means to pay attention to have a certain abundance of consciousness, to acknowledge something, to be aware of something's existence, of something that is in front of you, something that is of truth, something that is of deception. Down the list it goes. It is impossible to sit up here and to move forward in the gaming community, in the critiquing community, and not talk about this thing that I guess is brand new with Ryan Moody. It's not brand new. I know Mordo or Bordo. I don't know this dude. He's 22 years old, actually. He was born 2002. So he's about as old as I can remember going to GameStop getting Madden 2003 for high school. That dates me. So he's one of your newcomers in regards to Madden and all that type of stuff. But this isn't about Madden per se. Although I will say, I don't really care for the whole thing that people do where, like, all you do is talk about stuff that's negative. All you do is talk about stuff that's positive. All you talk about stuff. No. I want to break this video down into two parts in one video. The first part is, if you genuinely have a problem with Madden, there are myriad of reasons to have problems with Madden, more so than there is to have a myriad of solutions or positive effects with EA. Okay? This is Ryan Moody excluded. This has been a problem long before he came along. This has been an issue long before he even came onto the scene. And it will be an issue long after he's gone. Because the problem persists within games is the quest for quality. Now, historically, Bordo Mordo wasn't there when the EA license was made exclusive, when competition was taken. So he doesn't necessarily remember the golden age of competition in video games. He doesn't. He does not. He was born in 2002. He was a toddler when those things occurred and happened. So he missed the peak prime Madden years. He missed the PlayStation 2 years. He missed all those years. Just as much as a person my age missed something that happened, say, 1977, 1990, 1993, even though I was around. I wasn't functioning in society enough to be conscientious enough to acknowledge things. Regardless of the issue with Ryan Moody, and I understand the issues in which he had with him, and I will get to that soon, I will say that with him out the way, you cannot go into a situation with EA and Madden to not understand that they have a generational grasp on people. And based upon whether you were born or what time you were, your experience with Madden is going to be different. So, for instance, if you were around, let's say, 16, 17, 20 years ago, you're 36, 37 now. You were a sophomore in high school when NCAA football 2005 came out. You were a sophomore in high school when NFL 2K5 came out. If you were a sophomore when Madden NFL 2005 came out, you at the time had about at least a good decade on you to remember when it was a time when companies had competition, when baseball games pushed out their best effort, or some fell between the cracks because you had 4 or 5 baseball games. You had an era where you had 3 or 4 football games, maybe 5 or 6 or so, especially when it started around 2002, 2003. And all of that came to an end. Now, who knows what happened behind the scenes? Did EA run? Did NFL run to them? Who knows? But the NFL made a deal with EA Sports a long time ago to be the most exclusive title out there for games to be made in. EA signed an exclusive license with ESPN and NFL, and that started in 2006. Madden NFL 2006 would be the first title that was NFL exclusive. Initially, you would see and understand that since then, quality has diminished significantly from the course of 20 years. 20 years. We're talking a whole generation. So Bordeaux is not a part of that. He wasn't around to remember those things, to understand those things. Ever since he has been conscious in this life, he has remembered the only football title in town, which is Madden NFL. Now, people older than him have criticized Madden, including myself. I haven't brought a copy of Madden since Madden NFL 21. They were given multiple chances to prove to people, to show people improvements. To thus now only when they are in their hour of uncertainty of losing their license, now they want to listen to the fans. Now they want to provide the stuff. Now they want to do the stuff. Okay? So I'm not going to fault Mordo or Bordeaux for that because you are only responsible for the era in which you are in. That's it. No more, no less. You can't account for something in which you weren't around for, which you don't understand. But the reason why most people have such a negative impact against EA Sports is because EA Sports, Mordo, has done it to themselves. They did it to themselves. They created a game that they wanted for themselves. When people up here for years and years and years told them that if you're going to have the exclusive license to ESPN, please implement that in your game. If you're going to have the exclusive NFL license, please implement that in your game. Instead, they went the direction they wanted to go. They went into the direction of making microtransactions, of making mud, of focusing heavily on that while letting a product that was what made Madden good basically go under. And ever since that exclusive license has been given and been sold, EA has been constantly chasing the ghost of NFL 2K5 forever. Now, with that being said, in between those years, you did have titles that tried to come out. Backbreaker, using their engine of, God, what is it? It was this flimsy stuff. You had All Pro Football 2K8, which, by the way, at the time, when I was 19 years old, I had been around for that. We were all eagerly waiting for this to be the second coming. And 2K themselves dropped the ball because they didn't make it fully customizable. They didn't add franchise mode. They didn't do any of those things. So along the way, if people don't really have the full picture of why EA Sports is despised the way they are, or why Madden is despised the way that it is, then you're never going to get the full 365 degrees that you need in order to see where we got to this point, why we got here, and what along the way didn't implement itself or speak up loud enough to get it. The next best thing you have in this situation, depending on which point of view you want to look at it with, is the arrogance and the brevity of EA Sports and the developers within Madden. So before people like Bordeaux and Mordo came along, to be 22 or going on 23 now, which means a decade ago he was 12. So those were the bulk of the games he grew up with. He doesn't remember David Ortiz, Ian Cummings, all of those people, the people who were on the Operation Sports forums that you could talk to, the countless numbers of people who've done threads and wish lists and all those types of things that have fallen on deaf ears and have been seen by blind eyes. And so that's how you get a community that has become able to despise EA Sports and Madden. Now, here's where it separates and it goes off. With EA coming up with this game, there's a contract hanging in the balance. And there are a select few out here from, I think, Angry Gamer, Angry Video Game Dude. I don't know his name. I don't watch his stuff that much. Ryanmoody, all the rest of these people, I've lost track. I used to follow all this stuff back in the day. Not so much anymore. You get older, you get a job, you get life, you got to move on with your stuff. But that's where all these people come from. That it would be better if the NFL opened up the market and allowed other games to be made as competition for EA. Right now, EA's biggest competition with Madden is College Football 26, excuse me. Because of how much of a drawing that people have, that people despise Madden so much because of what has become Madden in the past 20 years, a whole generation, that they're willing to play their college counterpart instead of buying Madden. That is a systematic issue within the gaming community. That is a generational issue within the gaming community. How you went from people who stood outside every single night in July and August to wait for those games. I was one of them. Back when old boy was in middle school and elementary school. Okay, we were the ones out there doing all that. To now saying, to brag, I don't buy this game. So now you have to have an uphill climb to where when you have people who get flown out to these game companies and are testing these games and are buying these games, it is by all means capable to question people's motives, because people know that once you cross that threshold of becoming a friend and or ally of these said gaming companies, that you no longer can be trusted, because what customers see with their eyes versus what you're telling them are always never going to meet. Again, don't trust them, don't defend them. They haven't given you a reason to do so, so therefore people are not going to. So, with that being said, now you start to get into the gray area of where games like MLB The Show, as you're looking at right here, Madden, most of your sports titles will receive criticism. And I like to say, or interject myself into here with this as well, that some of the videos that I have made has been of a arguable negative approach to SDS. If you look at some other videos, have been a negative look at EA. And most people will then say that if the same criticism you wish to put on Ryanmoody, then you have to put that on the other people as well. Not that I'm defending him, because I'm going to get into his little weird shit later. But what I'm talking about is the angle of the arrow that has been shot by people like him and like others in criticism, like the angry video game guy and all that stuff. It is hard to sit up here and to speak positive about something that has not been giving you a reason to be positive about. If you are a person who has found yourself to be within the realm of these games, and you have for years and years and years spent time working on a wish list, working on stuff, trying to communicate with these companies, trying to express year in and year out the same exact things over and over and over again, that would make the game great, not just for yourself, but for a die-hard community, and it never gets answered, you're going to start creating animosity. And that's where you are with Madden. It's getting that way with MLB The Show. MLB The Show 25 has shown, for better or for worse, that when you release a broken product that has been released with 15 patches in less than 3 months' time, there is a significant systematic problem that has reared its ugly head within this game right here. And there's no other way to get around it or beat around the bush except to look at the issues that are facing you. What is taking over it? Cards, money, cards, stubs, cards, stubs. In a previous video, I studied when all these game companies started getting all these modes. 2010, 2012, 2012. All within 2 years of each other. And within 4 years to 5 years of these modes being established within these games, you started to see a significant change and divide from focusing on the quality of the game, quality of the franchise modes, the offline features, how great those things could have been if companies weren't greedy enough to focus on just making money off of their customers, making them consumers, instead of actually providing a good product. So when you have that type of war going on, that type of war where you have the games versus the customers and you have quality versus quantity, you have people like Ryan Moody come in and create a following. Okay. Now, I have said in the past that all my videos, which I express, are my experiences, not opinions. They're my experiences, seen from talking to these companies, talking to the developers, looking at the developers, looking at the interactions. My biggest issues right out here in the open is my frustration with potentially good products and good games that should be, could be, would be, and had no other way but to be great and outstanding and fascinating, but choose to lower themselves down to a lowest common denominator of greed, which thus destroys the product from in and out. To where people don't see that forecast, they don't see where that's going. That's where that is heading to. And that's why you have the problems you got. That's why you have people who take advantage of a glitch in a mode that needs to be fixed, that hasn't been listened to for 4 years. That's why you have people who don't know how to communicate to a company, and a company that has no interest whatsoever in communicating. It's not so much about them having spite or willing to, make certain people in the fan base suffer. It's sitting up here saying people don't have any other choice but to feel that way about you when you provided them no other means to hear from you, to see what you're doing, to believe in you, when that's all you're doing. When you're not communicating with people, that is where you are getting this from. That is where that's coming from. So all what people are going to do is they're going to slowly turn against you. So EA, so SDS, so 2K. When you create a world where your good graces are running out, when your currency of forgiveness is well spent, this is the direction that it heads to. You're going to allow people like a Ryan Moody to come in and gather your massive audience to then hate on your product the way that others would look at and be like, it's just negative. You have to provide the positivity in order for people to seek the positivity. You cannot allow people to be positive about something when you've given them no reason to be positive, when the previous amounts of your work has been bad and only just now you managed to do good. So that is where that's coming from. That's the end of part one. Here's part two about this character, Ryan Moody. And before I did give him praise in certain things, especially his criticisms of MLB The Show, which are valid, because it is starting to become a MLB, the bargain bin show, instead of MLB The Show that you pick up. But here's the thing. This man has been exposed recently as someone who has had a second channel. A second channel to where he has this whole, I think it's garlic bread or something like that. You got to look for it real hard to find it. Garlic bread, and he talks about these women who are overweight and which has content that could ultimately lead to bullying and all these types of things, where he obsesses vehemently about one woman over and over and over and over again. Almost to the point in the response video where Bordeaux at the end wanted to give him therapy, wanted to pay for his therapy, because there is something wrong with him in that. And so it goes into this whole diatribe and this whole YouTube drama. I'm here to say, this isn't the first time this dude got exposed. Now, when I mentioned in my video earlier about this dude, it really went over my head because I remember, not until just now, when I saw that 2 years ago, he had run-ins with people who exposed his channel and exposed what he did and exposed what he does. And in fact, most of his videos that he does on that channel has been done within the past 2-3 days and so on and so forth. Okay. Almost to the point where he is now starting to lose followers on his channel. And rightfully so. Here is the issue. And here's where a person like Bordeaux is actually in the right in exposing this individual. Because there's a pattern here, and I said this before, and I'll say it again about Ryan Moody's content. Ryan Moody's content is I would say, a moral caution, a cautionary tale about where do you draw the line between criticism to improve the product that you want to see done better, and two, in boiling over into just this incredible rate of insanity and criticism and just downright hatred for a product, almost to the point where you're doing it for a gain. Meaning that like your criticism become less about wanting the improvement of the product and more so about angling a direction to where you want things to head to, because that's where your bread is buttered. And I've mentioned before how that's a problem. Now, I try to steer course the right way on my channel, but sometimes I fall prey to that. And ultimately, that can create a problem. Okay? The reason being is because ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to ask yourself, why are you doing the content that you're doing? If MLB The Show was going good with the Stadium Creator, would I be making the content that I would be making right now? The answer is no, because I would be busy building ballparks. But unfortunately, I sat up here from March to so, and sat up here and acknowledged the fact that there is something vehemently wrong, systematically wrong with a company that does not properly communicate its issues with its consumers, and ultimately feels like they don't have to communicate themselves. The arrogance, the hubris, the miscommunication, and the downright inability to correct oneself. That leads to frustration. That leads to comments. That leads to videos where you're trying to figure out why they're doing what they're doing and what they're doing wrong. I would honestly say if MLB The Show came out and fixed this mode this year, fixed Ballpark Creator, fixed all that stuff, and made it to where I could actually decently make a game and make the ballpark the way I wanted to, I would move on to bigger and better things. I don't care to make content like this. I keep telling people time and time again, I don't like making that stuff. It's tiresome. But somebody has to, because somebody has to hold these companies accountable. Now, when you get into the area of Ryan Moody, it has been exposed that he does this same exact thing on another channel in which you're talking about these types of women, their weight. They even have a whole full community that obsesses about these women and all this stuff. Okay? You ain't gonna find no other channel of me obsessing about ish like that. The only alternate channel I have is going to stadiums, ballparks, and stuff like that. That's it. Not that I matter to that point. But I'm just trying to throw a contrast out there. Even to a person like Bordeaux, who literally sat up there in his video and said, you know, you can throw glitch games at me, you can throw stuff at me, and all this type of stuff. Doesn't really matter. Doesn't piss me off. But once you draw the line to where you are becoming a sort of bully, or you are making content that's going to harass people or come after people and obsess about people, you're kind of weird. You're doing weird stuff. You're doing like weird-ish that just does not do that. And that's where you get into this territory where are you making content where you are profiting off of the negativity of hating something to garner people who are going to hate it with you because they share the same interests with you. And then once you realize that once stuff gets better, those people are going to leave. Or are you sitting up here just wanting to correct something and want something done for the sake of it being corrected and being complete and being right? One has an end game. The other one has a continuous end game. The end game in one is I'm going to continue hating this product because there's people around me who enjoy hating this product with me. And I have no problem with that. I have no problem doing that. That's not an issue for me. And the other one is I have problems with this game. I think them having the exclusive license is a bad thing. But I'm willing to admit that when this game comes out and things get better and things get good, I will be able to maybe curb my criticisms a little bit and see what direction they're heading it and at least admit that. Now, has EA been given or welcomed that grace? My honest opinion, no, they haven't. Because I'm not coming at this from being a youngin' looking at Madden doing their stuff. I've come from this for over 20-some years worth of seeing a better product be silenced and shut down while the mediocre product, just because they had money, continued on and did what the NFL told them to do. And customers suffer because of that. Now, whose fault is that? Is that the NFL? Is that EA? I don't know. It's up for you to decide. But the reason why I keep going back and forth in this is because you have a person who has seeped their way into the genre of criticism and not for progression, but for the simple fact of just wanting things to be done a certain way. Now, once you go down that path, and I said this before in either a live stream or something else, but I'll say it here. People rarely ever change who they are. They are who they are behind the scenes, in front of you. The only difference is they wear a mask. That mask eventually is going to dissolve. People either continue something and realize the type of audience that they gather and say, hey, I don't really want this type of audience. I'm looking behind me, and the types of people that I'm gathering with me are people who are not representing my view very well, which does happen if you're a content creator. And you cease operations, and you stand up and you tell people, hey, listen, like, I understand this is what you want to be here for, but this is not my end game. This is not my goal. You have people out here who are only following Ryan Moody because Ryan Moody genuinely gives off the energy of hating Madden. And no matter what Madden does, no matter what NCAA football does, no matter what any of these things do, it will always garner criticism. Criticism in the videos gain more than positive views. Now, for people who can't stand Ryan Moody, you got to understand something. You contribute to his presence. Most people online gravitate towards brainless, mindless, hateful content. So if that's where the money is, why should you do something different? Nowadays, you got people making brainless, mindless AI content. Those videos get thousands and thousands of views, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. Meanwhile, if you're sitting over here doing work and working on your art, guess what? You don't get none of that stuff. People have to start looking at like what they are paying to see and paying to play with. Rather than just getting mad at the creator, you need to get mad at the creations and figure out like why people are gravitating towards those things and why people demand what they want. In this 2 cents, like no lie, this shit was weird 2 years ago. Now that I look at it and now that my memory has come back to me and say, oh my God, this is the same dude that I saw in videos that got exposed before. And it's weird today. And it just got discovered by other people about this. And it keeps getting discovered. And that's why I said so weird. I feel like it was deja vu because this dude got exposed again before. But walking away from this, you have to look at this situation. You have to say to yourself, and even I have to do it with my content. What's your end game and what's your goal? Because there's only so many videos that you can make to where you keep criticizing something and you keep having this agenda of going to war against it, that people are going to ultimately say, if this gets better, if there is a objectively corrected version that is successful and good, what are you going to say and what's going to happen? I truly believe that if there ever was a better version of Madden, I truly believe most of your content creators that have gained a following and made a boatload of money off of criticizing Madden will never, ever, ever give it its due. This is YouTube. This is the land of fake. This is the land of high school behavior and fakery from people. No one can be trusted in this world of YouTube. Most of your content creators are all frauds. They're all snakes. They're all fake. You know, they're your friend today. They collab with you today. Tomorrow they talk crap about you behind your back. You're their friend today, your enemy tomorrow. That's the way YouTube goes. Everyone out here is greedy. Everyone out here is trying to like get for themselves. I've seen it. I've been on YouTube for as a guest, without an account, as a person with an account for pushing 20 years now. So I've seen how YouTube has come from the beginning to the Onision stuff, to the Destiny stuff, to the little dramas, to the Las Vegas incident, all that stuff. To see like why those things happen. And it is to not dismiss, but you have a lot of mentally ill people in YouTube community. A lot of mentally ill people. A lot of people who need therapy. A lot of people who need counseling. A lot of people who need help. And coming to this channel as a means to heal yourself is not going to be the best situation possible or the best solution possible, because all what you're doing at the end of the day is you are trying to subdue something that cannot be subdued because what you're contributing to is not a healthy space, which is why he offered therapy for him. This is a guy who profits off of negativity. This is a guy who profits off of things that are not good. And if they're not good, he will make sure they're not good. Now you go over to his other channel, you look at it, he has the same exact formula there too. And most people in this community know that this dude is starting to get that way. So it starts to lose validity in his words and how he carries himself. So that's the two parts here. In closing, this is my take on all of this stuff. And this is what I walk away from this with. We're entering a very interesting, dark time now when it comes to this world, our politics, our views, how we see things, how we view things. And it's not going to get better. Sorry, I'm not the most optimistic person. Sometimes the light at the end of the tunnel is the train coming your way. It's being real. You have on these channels, people who have a lot to lose and a lot to gain on both sides. People have a lot to lose and a lot to gain in regards to a football game that will never get better and is glitched and has a history with it. And you have a lot of people who have a lot to gain by being flown out to EA, being made their agents of information to where they can't criticize them anymore, to where they have to ask for permission from them, to where they have to get those things in order to sell the product. You've seen it with Madden. You've seen it with other ones. You're starting to see it with MLB The Show, where IGN gives it a 9, and you're sitting up here scratching your head after a whole month of this thing being broken and need numerous patches saying, what game did you play? Because this isn't a game that's really a 9. You have a whole heap full of people out here that are pulling for you to join them. Join them to hate, join them to be deceived, join them to push them forward. Whichever side you fall on, all these people are out here for themselves. All these people are out here for themselves. Most of them do not live by the truth they're trying to project onto you, which is why it's a very dangerous time now for followers. You have more people following than people leading. But when it comes into this type of situation, this dude has been exposed before. Now, extensively to what extent, I just skimmed the surface of this rabbit hole. I am not trying to go down it. All I know is, and like I've said before, I've followed Ryan Moody for a long time. And even I've gotten to the point sometimes where it's like, well, playing in fall kind of looks kind of cool. It's kind of like this game. It's kind of like that game. Like, I don't see the coverage on Maximum Football as much as I see the coverage on Madden. I'm the type of person where, the only reason why I post my content about MLB The Show is because I legit care about this product. As outlandish as some of these videos are, as repetitive as these videos are, I legit care about this product. I want this product to be good because it's an investment. I have many of people that I have made buddies with online, building and constructing and researching that I would like to see good. That ultimately, at the end of the day, is my goal. That's what I want. If it ever got good, those videos dry up. Because I do have a couple of ballparks to make. I got a whole bunch of stuff to build and do goodbye. I don't have time for this crap. But things got to be done. You got to hold companies accountable. You got to hold game companies accountable. You got to hold teams accountable. You hold all this stuff accountable. If you're borrowing, taking money from customers, you kind of owe it to them to make sure that they have the best product possible. That's where things are at. And if you can't do that, then don't bother making games. But also, on the flip side of that, when you have a person who is profiting off of the toxicity and negativity of this stuff, you have to often ask, what is your end game? If they ever get good, will your content change about it, or will you continue to find negative stuff? Because eventually, at some point, people are going to wake up. Even the people in your crowd and your audience are going to wake up and start, smelling the coffee. And if you are a content creator who has some sort of ounce of acknowledgement and conscience around yourself, you're going to admit the fact of when things are starting to go, and you need to take a look at your followers and see what people are behind you, where you're going with, and what type of audience that you want with these types of people, and where you want to lead with, and what you want behind you, what you want representing you. A lot of YouTubers don't do that. A lot of YouTubers don't care. There is a weird thing that happens on social media now when people get a little taste of popularity, of following, of a voice, that they throw out all ounce of credibility, accountability, consciousness, social awareness, emotional intelligence, and all these types of things. That's where it's at. Regardless of, what you feel about Mordo or Bordeaux, the dude addressed the situation. He addressed what he saw in Ryan Moody, said the mofo was weird as hell, and moved on and did his content. Sometimes you got to call stuff like you see it. Some weird stuff, Ryan. I ain't gonna lie to you. It's kind of weird. Regardless of where you stand, my dude, it's some weird shit that you be posting on that page. I ain't gonna lie to you. So that's that. That's the cautionary tale that people need to follow out here in all of this. That's the moral of this story. So where do you draw the line between, criticizing and critiquing things because you want them to go a certain way because you see something heading that way, and ultimately a deep underlying problem that you have, not just with your content, but in your personal life that's bleeding into your stuff? I'll catch you guys around.